Hey, best friends.
Welcome to another episode of The Bestie Advice, where we discuss all things relationships.
And now for part two.
Working that thing.
That's good.
Oh, that is amazing. And
Yeah.
what a powerful love story and testimony of how God ordains marriages and how God brings people together. Said a few things I kind of want to go back and reiterate so that our audience can really hear the powerful testimony. One of the things that you shared was that you didn't feel the need to have to wait a long time.
Yes.
And there's not, God doesn't take long to do anything.
Mm-mm.
Let me share this. So Mitch and I met on a blind date, and but I didn't live here. I didn't live in Chicago. I was still in college. So when we met, I was still in college. So I went back to school. And so I didn't see Mitchell probably for like another year, like physically lay eyes on him. But we only dated, we didn't even date for a year before he proposed to me. That's what I'm trying to say. We didn't even date for a year. We met on a blind date. Literally, his friend, my friend, hey, you guys should meet each other. We talked on the phone before we physically met. I lived in another state, so I went back to where I was in school. He was still in Chicago. And then once he convinced me to move back, I asked, well, what are your intentions? Like, why should I move back? And, he, of course, he proved to be a man of his word, a man of honor, but it didn't take us that long. So I can understand what you're saying. But the crazy thing is everybody around us had been in relationships over 10 years. Mitch and I we didn't even date a full year before he proposed. And so to your point, it doesn't take God long to do anything. I still try to wrap my mind around. So literally, God, you placed me in Chicago, Illinois for this man. So I can relate to that. It doesn't take long. And so what do you say to those women that are in these relationships that they're dating? And they're in these relationships where there are 5, 6, 7, 8, and they're not
10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, 30.
No, that's for real. That's for real.
Right? I mean, because it doesn't take God long to do anything. So what do you say to them, these women? Because you just said you were married for 25 years. You really was only divorced technically for 6 months. God sent your forever love to you. What do you say to those women?
Yes.
I say, first of all, to the ones that are in long-term relationships, and I can't imagine, I don't know, maybe there's some women that are in relationships that just don't want to get married. Fine. But the ones that do, like, don't discount yourself. Like, know your worth. When you know who you are, when you know what you're giving out as a woman, when you know what you deserve, Brian showed me that it does not take a man a long time to decide that.
It doesn't.
Really doesn't.
It does not.
Take a long time
Mm-mm.
at all.
Because I think, Tjuana, y'all was less than a year. I'm trying to remember. I remember you telling me, like, y'all was like, you met on the bus at the mall. Like,
yes. Our story, yes, that really was our story. I met him at Brickyard Mall, no longer Brickyard Mall. I think it's Bricktown now. But I met him at Brickyard Mall a couple of months after me graduating from high school. I was 18 years old. He told me when he saw me in the mall, he said, she's going to be my wife. My husband asked me to be his wife when I was 19. I don't even think it was a year after we started dating, we broke up. We started dating again, we broke up because I said he was too good to be true. What is that? But that's what I said. He was too good to be true. So we broke up. We started dating again. At the end of that year, December of, I think that might have been maybe 95, because we met in 94, he asked me to marry him. Of course, I said, yes. And I'm like, no,
Oh my God.
But when I tell you we stayed together until we actually got married, and it was really a thing of I wanted to make sure I finished, my classes in school. I didn't want anything to like interrupt that or whatever. Plus trying to save money. Straight out of high school, look, I'm still trying to get funds together. So, but he and I, yes, we did meet when we were young. And like I said, the day that he met me, he told me that I was going to be his wife. Boy, bye. But he knew. And he'll say all the time, it doesn't take a man long. We as women, we may say like, oh, I don't know what make that man. Oh no, he knows what he wants.
And you hear stories like that. And
Absolutely.
I just thought, this can't happen to me. Like how, but like hearing his story, like he'll tell, he's so excited to tell his story, right? So it's like hearing him say, I knew when he told
Yeah.
me. And the crazy thing about this too, y'all, is that happened in 2022. In 2021, in May, we went to the studio for the same friend and just cut tracks. Everybody, it was I don't know, 6 of us there. And Brian was a funny guy. So he was just cracking jokes like, oh, you holding that alto note? And I'm just like, and I was in there, like I tell him today, I was looking like somebody's little broke sister. I had on a big sweatshirt, some jeans, some Crocs. I was just whatever. Glasses, no makeup. It was like 9 o'clock in the morning. We just went to do a job. And so what I didn't know until last year is that he took a picture of me in May of 2021, held it in his phone a year later. So when we started talking, he showed me this picture. I was like, you got the broke little sister picture. I'm like, no, but I didn't know he had that picture. And he said when he left me in July of 2022, he said he was in the car and he was like going through, like, I saw this face before. And he was like, that's her. I was like, yeah, I was looking a little, right? And so I was like, so you saw me all dolled up or whatever. He's like, but I did not, connect the dots. So we met in May of 2021, but we never talked until we saw each other in July of 2022.
Wow.
So, and he would tell, he was like, I knew that you were going to be my wife. That was it.
Yeah. I ask you too. So you know how as we are getting old, we're coming from our teens, we're going into adulthood, and like one day we want to get married, and we have to kind of prepare ourselves. We want to make sure we know how to take first of all, know who we are. Okay, that's the first thing. Know who we are, being confident in who we are, and then just kind of preparing ourselves for marriage. We can't be so selfish. When you come together, it is a give and take, type of relationship. It has to be some balance there in the relationship. It has to be more more about him than it is about you, but more about you than it is about him, as far as coming from this end. So we're preparing ourselves, we're cleansing ourselves, we're asking God to prepare us mentally, we're getting our bodies together because we want to look good, even as far as preparing ourselves, as far as with cooking and knowing how to take care of a house. Well, women, we should already kind of know how to do that, whether you want to get married or not. I just want to throw that out there. But knowing how to take care of our house, knowing how to be able to cook, how to take care of ourselves, we're getting our minds ready. So when you're doing that, for a second time and you're getting ready to do it again, one of the things we have to do, even if it's not doing marriage a second time, just going from relationship to another relationship, we got to rid ourselves of that other person. So how did that even go? How was that process? Almost like resetting your mind. So when you go into this new relationship, it can't be any comparisons. So how did you even go about as far as doing that?
Absolutely. So we definitely have talked about our past.
Yeah.
We don't dwell on it, right? Because we are where we are for whatever reason we are now together.
Yes.
So we have to, we talk about things that we both, I was married at 21. I think he got married at 30 something. But in either case, we've experienced some things. So we definitely don't want to make the mistakes that we made. Because, again, we're not perfect. I made mistakes in my first marriage. He made mistakes.
Yeah.
So we are so determined to do is identify what those mistakes were on our part, not even the partner's part, right? Not even on their part. What did we do wrong over there? okay, let's fix that so we don't make those same mistakes in this one, right?
Yes.
Maturity, because age don't make you mature, right? Go
Right, right.
through experiences, learning from them and wanting to do differently makes you
Yeah.
mature, right? And people get this, oh, I'm 55, I'm 60, and you still a fool, okay? All right. But you have to go through things, you have to learn from them and make a decision to do
Yes.
better as a result of what you learned.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've experienced and you've grown from it.
Mhm.
So I would just say, go through. We all have to go through, but go through it and then have an open mind, right? I had to be open to this whole different man, right? And
Absolutely.
early, right? Because this is new for both of us. Like, we both have a past, that's for sure. For
Yeah.
certain it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's like to not bring that stuff into this requires a lot of prayer, a lot of communication, a
Yeah.
lot of communication, an open mind, right? Because you're going into this as an adult, right?
Mhm,
You,
mhm.
because you've experienced so much, it's just like it's so easy to, compare and be like, wait, you don't do this, he did this, she didn't,
Mhm.
she did this,
Yep.
right? You have to literally, and to be honest, we're human still, right?
Yeah.
Those things will pop up,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But you have to cast it down as soon as it pop in your mind and be like,
Mhm.
well, you know what? Nope, you. Right? And let's just focus on this.
Right, right.
People are different, right? And
Yeah.
again, like I tell him, I feel like at this stage in my life, I told Brian just the other day we had this conversation. I'm like, you are getting the best version of who I know how to be right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm 47. At 50, it may be a different level of me,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
He's 55. At 60, it may be a different level. But that's that, for better, for worse, like we
Mhm.
understand the vows now. At 21, I was repeating what I was told to say.
Right,
I didn't really
right.
have it in my heart, right? I'm like, okay, I'm supposed to say this. I'm supposed to do this. But
Mhm.
going through it and understanding it and studying it, like
Mhm.
we have books that we read about marriage, right? Because we're so determined. You hear statistically about second marriages, right?
Mhm.
But I'm just like, you know what? It's what we believe. It's what we put in it, right? Because people will say, oh, it's too early. How did y'all know? Are y'all think y'all ready for real? Are you sure? All this stuff. But it's like as long as you and I, right,
Mhm.
and the Lord,
Mhm.
right, we good. So
Right,
people
right.
just you have to get people out of your ear. You have to basically forget the former things. The Bible talks about that, right?
Mhm.
Press toward, right? Press
Mhm.
forward to the mark. You can't remember all the other stuff. Of course, it's a part of you and it's going to come up. You can't dwell on that stuff. And you definitely can't compare because people are different.
Yeah.
I'm back to kids, right? We parents raise more than one kid in the house. They grow up differently.
Mhm.
They grow up different. Think about our siblings, right? We're different.
Right,
And
right.
same parents, right? Or have the same upbringing.
Mhm.
Different. And you just have to embrace that different. And instead of like, and I think that's why a lot of, we talk about this, marriages kind of do this because when you don't know, you just don't know. You think you know, but when you don't know, you don't know. And a lot of people, even myself, I pushed away instead of leaning in, right? So you have to, in order to grow, you have to lean into those challenges, right? You have to lean in and embrace them and just know, okay, once we get through this, and it's not easy. I don't care what people see or what people say, it's not easy,
Yeah.
but we agreeing to be in this to the end, we're gonna make it work no matter what. So
No, that's
That's
good.
good.
That's good.
yeah.
You're preaching now. You're preaching good. Preaching good. No, I think that is good. And it's just, brings me so much joy to hear, what you're saying. You're in a very good place, in your life. And you hit something on the head. Like the women that we were at 21, we're not those women in our 40s, and you definitely won't be those women in your 50s. Like you just
You
change,
shouldn't be.
get better.
Right.
Right. You
Shouldn't
really
be.
shouldn't
Yeah.
be. And
Yeah.
so, your experience as a person, as a woman changes. So I'm so happy to hear that you are really operating at your best self and you did the work to get to that place.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy for you and Brian. And my last question really is what's next? Like what's next for Mr. and Mrs. Williams? Like what can we expect to see from you guys?
Yes.
So we are still just really excited about, our new life together. We are so determined to just build, and this season is just amazing because we were just we'll be on a panel for married couples. They're breaking the
Wow.
vows next Saturday at his church. So it's funny because
Y'all church?
huh?
Y'all church?
Yeah, I haven't. I'm on my way to
All
join.
right, go ahead, girl.
I'm an unofficial member, but I'm on my way. But yeah, so we will be on the panel to talk
Yeah.
about one set of the marriage vows. And it's funny because when they asked us, we were like, we just got married in March. Most of y'all have been married. We have people that's 30 and
Right.
15, and it's just for us like 3-4 months. And it's like, but y'all want us. And so what she told us is like, she's like, it's something in y'all that we see. She
Mhm.
was like, and it's not about quantity, because you have people that's married for 50 years and they
Mhm.
live in separate bedrooms, or they just don't get along, or they're just content at this point, right? It's
Mhm.
not a marriage anymore. It's just like, oh, you're a roommate, I'll see you down the hall, whatever. So it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality.
Yeah.
And we're so determined. When I tell you, it's a whole different dynamic. Like we always talk about, this Williams household is just, people wouldn't believe it. Like we can't make this stuff up. Like
Yeah.
it's such a different dynamic and a different space. And we're so determined to do it. So we're just excited to build. That's what's next for us to build. We definitely want to invest in some things. We talk about that. And we just want to be encouraging to other people who have traveled down the road that we have traveled down.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people like y'all, first marriages, love y'all, love it, admire y'all. Then you have people that's been married a second time or whatever, right? And a lot of people don't know that, you hear the bad thing about, we heard negative things about second marriages, but we want to be able to say, hey, y'all can make it.
Mhm.
Even though it's the second time around, you
Mhm.
can make it through. Just
Yeah.
there's some things that you need to do, like you just said, Irene or Caroline. You can't bring up that old stuff.
Yeah.
You have to put it down. You can't bring what the Bible say, old wine into new.
New wine skin.
Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
Uh-huh.
you have to be, but you have to be intentional about that, because
Yes.
that stuff will come
Yes.
up and it'll creep up on you. So you have to be intentional about it. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things. We're just so determined and excited about this new season. Like we
Yeah.
are friends, which is super important. Like we can talk
Very.
about whatever, we have fun doing everything or nothing. It's just it's fun.
Yeah.
Right. So we just have a good time together, and we're doing ministry together, and it starts in our home. It's not necessarily out there. I'm not like an ordained minister, but the marriage ministry in our home starts
Yeah.
here before it gets
Yeah.
out there.
No, that's
Absolutely.
good.
So,
Absolutely. And it's one thing you just said, as far as you all are determined to make it work.
oh yeah.
That's good. And I think it's almost like that should be the motto for
Mhm.
every marriage, whether it's the first one or the
Yeah.
10th. You
Yeah.
should be determined to make it work, to
Yeah.
come together, to have open communication, to be able to talk about any and everything. I mean, and the any and everything is not always good things. It may be some not so good things, but we got to talk about this if we're going to keep this line
Absolutely.
going.
And we
But at the
do,
end of
yeah.
right, but at the end of the day, we're not here to hurt one another. We're not
Right.
here to tear one another down. We're just trying to get to the bottom of things, trying to be able to see eye to eye. Even if it has to be the whole thing, we're going to agree to disagree. That's going to be it, and we're going to leave it right there, and we're going to come back and pick that up no more.
Right.
But to be determined to make it work. That's good. I love that. I love that. That's good.
That really is. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Tjuana, for agreeing to come on the podcast and be
Yeah.
so transparent and vulnerable.
Mhm.
I pray that, someone out there that's listening is inspired by her testimony. She has an amazing testimony, an amazing story of, just really making sure that her mental health and her emotional health
Yes.
is met. And she did something about it. I mean, that's strength right there. And again, I commend you. I commend you for that. Oftentimes women or men wait till it gets just bad and they've been drugged all the way down for them to
Right.
just was like, no, I'm moving now. And
Yeah.
so That is very commendable. And one thing it just popped back in my head, I wanted to comment on that you said that I absolutely love is keeping the outside voices out of your marriage. Let me tell you, that has been one of the major keys. People ask me all the time, like, how have I been able to be successfully married for 25 years? And, of course, I'm going to say, oh, communication, because that is important. We do talk about everything, but being able to keep outside voices, even my family, like, it's so important that you all are on an island, and what it's like you're in a cocoon, and you and him stay in that cocoon, because when times get hard, you guys have to, run to each other. And that's the thing that Mitch and I have always done. We run to each other. Now, I listen to wisdom and I listen to advice, but it's very important that, like you said, people will say, oh, y'all shouldn't have got married too soon. Are you sure? And this and that. And you will start thinking you're crazy and double, second, and triple, and thinking like, maybe I should. The whole time God is like, I sent the man that you just prayed for on the bathroom floor. Wasn't that you on the floor saying, God, send him? Okay, he here. And so I think that's key. And so one of the biggest takeaways that she said is her and her husband are intentional, and they spend a lot of time communicating, and both of them are operating at their best self as individuals, so they can be their best selves in their marriage.
Absolutely.
This has been a great conversation. I have loved it. I think this has been a great interview. And as Kieran said, this whole season, her and I are really taking a deep dive into different relationships and various types of relationships. And so thank you for being one of our first conversations, doing it again the second time. Tjuana, we will have you back on with your husband.
Absolutely.
He is so ready. I'm all ready.
Kieran, do you have anything you want to say before we close out?
No, I do just want to thank my good friend Tjuana. I love her, y'all. I want to thank her for coming on and being so transparent with sharing with us about her journey and her story. And at the end of the day, you all, your story is your story. Your process is your process. It's not patterned after anyone else's. It's going to be your, as much as you may try to make it, at the end of the day, it's still going to be your process. And I'm with Irene and Tjuana. Keep people out of your ears and keep people out of your relationships. At the end of the day, it's going to be you and your husband's decision. That's it, and that's all. Because when you come back home and you put them ducats and them funds together and you have to make some big decisions, believe me, so the people ain't coming in and throwing not a bone to you. So and not $1 or the 50 cents. So it's like you have to make sure that you all are tight. You all are tight, being able to share and being able to talk about any and everything, even the hard things.
Especially the hard things.
Look, especially the hard things. Be able to talk about those things. So again, thank y'all so much. But Tjuana, before we go, is there any words of wisdom? I mean, y'all, she been throwing them out there. She been dropping.
Good nuggets.
But yes. So is there anything else that you wanted to share with our audience?
I would just say to just be your best self and own everything about you and give it to the Lord, like your true self, and be open to how he moves, right? We can have our own agenda. We can have our own, I'm going to do it this way. I want to go that way, but just be open and just learn to let go, pray, and go to get you a good therapist.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Well, thanks you all for joining us on, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're listening to us on our podcast via Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, wherever you're listening to us.
All those.
All of the platforms. We thank you guys so much for rocking with us for 4 seasons. And so we are excited about what this season is going to bring. And so till next time, bye, besties.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. See you next time.